You ain't ready.
All right, what you got for us? What you got for us, Daddy?
Oh, you take your damn time, dude. It takes you forever. Then you got to put your headphones on. I need to get up and just push the button.
Get some new material.
You guys know that I can.
No,
Every week we do this. Every week we do this same routine. I go over there, I press record on the video. I come sit down, and I hear you two jabbing.
What you fail to acknowledge is the casual strut that is back to your chair. And then you look like an 85-year-old man sitting down in your chair.
These things take time.
You got to listen to yourself with your headphones.
Yep. How y'all doing?
We're doing great, man. Let's get started. What number is this?
I don't even know.
Feel Good Friday.
37.
14.
I don't know. I was enjoying some of that biltong.
19. Yeah.
I'm not going to say the company name because they're
That's
not
all
a sponsor.
Right.
But
We'll get them. They're good friends of ours. But
good friends of ours. We're not going to say the company's name. That doesn't make any sense.
good friends got to pay.
If they're friends,
Good friends still got to
really
pay.
Matter. That's a damn shame, man.
damn,
It's a shame.
Hey, this isn't a charity.
this isn't
a nonprofit.
whatsoever.
It's probably the reason why.
This isn't a nonprofit.
They're not.
I'll say this. This was a teammate of mine in Chicago. This is a company that he helped form. So football player backed, and guys, a lot of connections to us, friends of ours, and yeah.
That's good stuff.
They've built a really good product.
Really good
And
stuff.
if you're unfamiliar, biltong is beef jerky. But
Don't say that to them.
I know.
Don't you
say
dare.
That's disrespectful. It's way better than beef jerky.
It is. It's a meat snack. It's the way they process. Wait, hold on. Pause.
It's a meat snack.
That was my nickname in college.
Meat snack.
Anyways, all right. Speaking of college.
Is this
That
speaking of
has
college?
Nothing, no, this has nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with
Can
it.
we just get started on the podcast?
Yeah, sorry.
I'm out of order here. I'm the judge.
Hey, are
I'm
you-
serious about
Dude,
this
you
shit
okay?
today.
Dude,
Are you
I'm
okay?
serious about this. Fix my mic, dude.
It's
My
true
mic's-
what they
Hey,
say.
you want me to go get you some gym shorts? Just loosen up a little bit.
No.
Suit.
My nuts are feeling really tight right now.
Dude, it's true what they say. The older you get, the more ornery you get, and
That's
just
not true.
Angry.
That's not. That's not.
Ornery.
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 How do you
I'm
spell
glad-
ornery?
I'm glad
How do you
we're,
spell ornery, Darren?
We're still sidetracked.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Darren sent out a text last night like, hey, guys, I got a lot going on. We got to be really efficient this week.
Yep.
So can we please get there? Speaking to me. He's like, hey, can we please be there on time? Quotations, imaginary. Tyler, I'm talking to you.
Eyes on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Get
you're
here.
and you're here on time,
That's
right?
right. Yes, sir.
And you're
Sort
here on
of.
time.
Uh-huh.
He
And
sat down at 3:34. That's not on time.
no. He sat down. He walked in that door. At
Okay, hold on.
3:25.
Is this gang
I
up
gave
time?
y'all,
I'm just saying,
I gave
he
y'all
got here
some
on
meat
time.
snacks to buy myself about 3
Some
minutes to
meat
go use the
snacks.
That's true. Some of my meat
But then you
snacks.
took. How about some meat snacks in your mouth, man?
Hey,
How about that?
Nothing a
Does
little
that
more than some
satisfy
meat
you?
snacks in my mouth.
Remember how these Feel Good Fridays started out as like 3 to 5 minute
Yeah.
little deals?
Yeah.
And now we just BS for 5 minutes
Yeah,
before we
they're-
even talk about what we're
They're
going to
now
talk about.
22 minutes of who cares.
Happy Friday, everybody.
It's hot as balls in here today too, man.
In here, it's the same temperature it is
No,
every
it's
day.
not, dude. Today, for some reason,
I'll agree
You
with
walked
It's a
in
little warmer.
Saturday
It's a
saying it
little
was
warm,
it was
man.
cold.
Yeah, this Saturday was cold. Today it's warm. What you been doing in here? You were the first one in here.
Don't worry about what I'm doing here before y'all get here.
Dog.
Don't worry about that.
Just up in here sweating it
All right,
out.
I guess we can get to it.
to
Everybody's probably turned it off at this point. The question posed by a listener was about NFL playbooks. And since I'm clearly the expert here on NFL playbooks, I figured I would go on a little monologue about what it's like to learn. No, just kidding, of course. No, but the question really was, hey, what's it like learning a playbook? Because right now, that's what everybody's doing right now in training camp is everybody's learning and trying to digest and, run these plays. And it takes a lot of effort, especially for new guys. And Tyler, you're the expert
Playbooks. How many playbooks
on learning new playbooks.
In my NFL career,
in your career? How many did you go through?
so I'm just going to list them real quick. Okay. So Cleveland, Chicago, Houston, Miami, Dallas. Yeah, so 9.
So when you mentioned
Yeah, so
Dallas,
Cleveland. So I came into Cleveland with Mangini.
right?
And Dabo was the offense coordinator. Then that staff got fired, so I was there the end of 2010.
Crazy. Dabo got fired.
Yeah, well, because Mangini and the staff, and then And then Shermer went to West Coast, his offense. So he gets Shermer's offense, and then I'm in Cleveland, and there was no off season. So that was, I had to, like, literally, they couldn't send out playbooks because it was the lockout year. And so we had to go meet personally on our own dime, and Colt McCoy would just run us through the plays because he had, I don't know, legally or whatever, but
inside
like
knowledge
met and got, and learned the playbook. And so he couldn't give us any handouts, do any of that. He had to walk us through who was doing what. Wow. And so we literally had to like take notes to learn the playbook, and then you report to camp, and then you get a hard copy. So then I got traded to Chicago week 1, and then I had to learn Mike Martz's offense. That was probably the biggest transition, honestly, because Martz's offense like doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever.
Right.
It's his own system. It's his own route numbering system. It's his own formation name. It's his own.
Nothing translates. Nothing transfers over.
No, because I went from like Daboll's offense to a West Coast offense to a Martz offense, which Mike Martz was the the greatest show on turf at the Rams, and kind of had his own deal. And then went back to, and then Mike Tice came in and was the offensive coordinator, and he was kind of a hybrid West Coast Mike Martz kind of deal. And so I'm speaking mostly offensively, and you can maybe attest to this because you went through a handful of coordinators. But
no,
here's
mine was pretty simple. Stayed the same.
It did.
Yeah.
Most of your career.
Dave
Okay.
Campo and Mike Zimmer stayed the same.
Oh, well, there you go.
So that's why
I can't imagine what it would be like. And that was my last 2 seasons was the only time that I actually like had the same offense.
Yeah.
Like I knew the offense coming into camp. That was literally my last 2 years. But it's funny because concepts are the same, right? A wide zone is a wide zone.
Right.
A draw is a draw. A screen is a screen. A B block is a B block.
Right.
But coordinators, not that there's an ego, and I'm not saying it, but there's an ego because it has to be their system, right? Because they can't use somebody else's system, right? You're not going in and talking to Jerry Jones or talking to Robert Kraft and saying, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm going to use, I'm going to use Parcells' system, or I'm going to use, Walsh. I'm going to use West Coast, or I'm going to use this." Like it's like you've got to, you've got to have your own thought and your own spin and your own creativity and your own this. And so what they do to do that is all they do is literally change the names to make it harder for the players to understand what's going on. So what I did is I formed actually in the UFL when my very first offensive playbook, I formed, okay, hey, when I do this, it means that. So what I would do is I transition while I was learning it is I would refer everything back to what the consistent foundation was.
Right.
Like, okay, hey, this means it's 34 zone.
Right.
Or this means that. Or this means that. And so that's what I would have to do in order, which it makes it a little bit harder on the front end until you can just like repetitions and then you get it. Because you've got to process, okay, I hear the play, then I got to say, okay, now it means that. Okay, now here's my job, and then I got to play. But it was so abstract, and I had so many playbooks that I had to learn in such a short amount of time. Did you ever get them mixed up?
Like, did you ever hear a play when you're in Houston and think, okay?
Yeah, there was times, especially early on, and it's like, or something that it was like it just made no sense at all. Like the numbers didn't make sense. Like, okay, hey, why are we calling it this? Like, for example, boss is a run. Typically, it's a really wide zone where it's the back on the strong safety, BOSS. Well, I think it was Houston. A boss was completely different. Like, they just called it boss, and it was just like a lead weak zone. And it was like,
oh, wow.
Hold on, there's no reason for that terminology. But that's what coordinators will do is they'll put their stamp on it, and they'll make sure that it's their system. They're running all the same plays, right? Like you think as a defense, it's like you don't care what the names are. Okay, hey, I know it's a counter, or I know it's a zone, or I know you've got a toss,
stretch,
it's a stretch. Like it is what it is. Like you may change up the blocking schemes or whatever a little bit here and there, but coordinators just unfortunately make it more complicated than it needs to be. Like The good ones make it really simple.
Right.
Make it really, really simple.
So how many times? I mean, this is an interesting conversation because I've been consistently, outside of my rookie year, it's pretty much the same thing. Now you had wrinkles here and there.
Yeah.
And not to mention defensive playbooks are
Don't start
easy.
this, dog.
Well,
Don't start
no,
this.
and I want to talk about that. I don't want because I don't want people to
just-
think the defensive playbooks are simple.
Dude,
Yeah,
you just
that-
say,
yeah,
go
because-
play backyard ball.
Okay.
Go
Slap
get it.
somebody in the mouth, right? So, what was it like?
Darren's job was like, "Hey, Dion, what number you got? Oh, I got the other dude. Okay, cool.
can we-
Let's go."
We didn't even call it.
Can
that.
we set this up a
called it
little
something
bit?
differently?
Can we set this up a little bit?
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is, let's break this down a little bit.
You just
So
want to ask a question.
Well, I do. I haven't talked in like 8 minutes here.
Withdrawals. He's over there itching his
Y'all
neck,
remember when
like,
we first started this podcast? I would literally never say a word.
now I can't shut your ass up.
I do remember at the start, just like
relax.
looking over, like,
Yeah, I was just like-
and you're like listening, and then like, and you'd be sweating a little bit, and then like you ask like a really good question, and like, come on, dude, let's go.
Yeah.
Now you can't just
No,
all
you
day
can't
long.
shut me up.
Okay.
No, but I'm trying to paint a picture here because I'm sitting here as somebody who never had to do this other than college. So you show up day one,
Yeah.
and they give you your playbook. And how long do you have before the first practice to study this thing? And do they give you any pointers? Are they walking you through this, or do they just say, "Hey, here, learn this"? How does that even work?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care what you say,
So
D.
I'll say like the fastest transition for me was Chicago because it was get here Wednesday and you're starting on Sunday. So you got to know all 21, 22, 23 personnel plays. You got to know them all. And not only is that the case, I had to get my physical, get all that stuff prior to actually being able to get cleared for practice.
Right.
So I get in the facility at like 5 a.m., go do all that stuff. And I'm not back and done with all that stuff till like 9. So they're already an hour and a half into meetings. So during lunch that day, I sat down with the running back coach and he just went through the script of the day. Because as you go into practice, every single play that you run is scripted out. It's the script. And so he went through the plays that I'm in, and we literally was like, here is what you are doing on this. Like, here's the play, here's what it is. So then I had probably 30 minutes on my own to actually like go through and like look at the picture, look at the script, look at the picture, look at the script.
Did
and
you know
back
where
and
to
forth.
start though? Like, I mean, I guess you had some idea, but it's like, to me, it'd be like open up a Spanish book and just be like, hey,
It was,
learn.
and especially in Chicago, because Martz's system, it was all numbers. And so in the West Coast, you're like literally saying, it's like, strong right, I right, jet right, 32 draw. Like you're literally like spelling out exactly what you have. Whereas like Martz's offense, it's not. It's mostly numbers. Like numbers can mean formation, they can mean pass routes, they can mean run scheme, they can mean it's wild. So
What's a sample play in the March offense?
Okay, so like, gosh, now you're putting me on the
Put you on
spot here.
spot. Yeah.
No,
Good job, man.
Okay, so
This is
like,
awkward.
yeah, so like, and again, it's not always, but it'd be like double two right, fly, shooter, 18 screen, something like that. Like,
So all that means something, obviously, for all 11
Screen.
players
It's always screen.
on the field.
but again, fly. The hard part is fly is typically a motion, right, and it's usually a Y motion. Well, in his offense, it's whoever is in this position of this formation. That's who flies. So it can be the Z, it can be the X, it can be the Y, it can be the H, it can be the F. It can be any of them, but you have to know, okay, in your offense, in this formation, that's the motion guy and where I'm lined up. And so it's like, I have no idea where I'm lining up in these. Because like double right is, okay, hey, I've got tight end receiver, and then I've got H, like a second tight end, or a slot and a receiver. That's typically doubles, right? So you got, it all just depends, but it was just always
complicated.
backwards.
That
I
shit
was
all
going to say,
complicated.
that paints a good picture here for
How
people who have
complicated
no
it is.
clue that every single thing you just said means something for each player on the field.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so intense and so hard, because that's one of 100 that
Yeah.
you got to know by Sunday.
Yeah, and it depends on the coordinator. Some coordinators, they're going to put out 350 plays, and you've got to know all of these through camp. and then we're actually only going to run, 30 of them because we're running, 8 of those plays 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So it's, again, Houston, I would say Houston, although it was like a fairly easy offense because it's kind of a hybrid West Coast Shanahan. It was Kubiak?
Who was that?
Kubiak. It was Kubiak. So it was a Shanahan offense. So it was like a West Coasty offense. But for some reason, like things just didn't make sense. And I don't know if it was because I came from that Chicago offense. It was harder for it to make sense. But yes, when you run through a play, so every single word talks to everybody in some capacity.
Right.
So whether they're talking about formation, talking about personnel, talking about blocking scheme, talking about routes, talking about your read per, everything talks to somebody. And, I know Jason Garrett was criticized because his plays were super long, right? It would take a long time to get the verbiage out.
Right.
Whereas typically, and West Coast is kind of that way because Garrett's a variation of a West Coast. I liked it when it was longer because you literally tell everybody what to do.
Right.
Whereas Mart's was very much like, hey, and you're out. And I say because I said it twice.
Yeah.
So back to your original question is when you get thrown into it, but typically you have an off season where you run through the entire playbook. Then you run through the entire playbook over again in training camp. And so then by the time you get to the season, you've already ran through the entire playbook twice from an install perspective.
And you know what that speaks to? Like you see players going into a new system and you wonder why is he not playing the entire game like he played when he was with his previous team, right? Or why isn't he playing as fast?
Yeah.
Because he's thinking.
That's right.
Like the mental aspect of the game. It's not like you just show up on Sunday and you just go play football.
Yeah.
There's so much to it.
Because that's exactly right. Because think about it. Totally unfamiliar, and again, it's verbiage. That's really what it is verbiage, is you're relating, okay, what this verbiage means to what I've actually got to do, right? What is my responsibility? And then you get to different rules, right? Every coach has their own theory on angles, on containment, on, okay, hey, if it's this split, then we've got to do this on defense. Okay, if they're spread out, so there's all those variations that you've got to account for. But just the simple form of calling a play is you've got to not only process that's unfamiliar, that you don't have the repetitions to do, then you've got to take that and look at the opposing side, whether it's the offense or defense. And now you've got to see the offense through or a defense through a completely different lens than what you did before because there's totally different rules. So if the will linebacker is stacked over the 3-tech, okay, now I've got to do this. Okay, now if the will linebacker, if he's outside, in call it a 50 technique, which means a 5 shade, which is you're outside of the tackle and you're off of the ball. If you're there, then I've got to do this. It just means all different things. And you've got to do that in literally 7 seconds. From when the play is called to when you're lined up, you got to get your pre-snap read, and then you got to get down, you got to get ready to go.
Yeah, I think people, you just don't think about it when you're sitting there watching a game. You don't think about what's all involved in this play.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on that over time gets kind of second nature.
Yeah.
So Chicago, how long would you say it took you to understand that playbook? You said you got there on a Wednesday and had to play on a Sunday.
Yeah. So I would say by the third game is when I felt comfortable. I think we played Carolina at home. And that was the first game that I was like, okay, I've got it. I know what to do. I know how to adjust. Okay, I'm not freaking out if he audibles and calls something else.
Tell the Jay Cutler story for those that are new to the podcast.
And actually, that was a play that I just listed out, in Chicago. So, it was, again, first game. This was late in the first quarter, and I had been so buried in the playbook, I didn't have time to any rapport with the guys or anything. Literally, I'm buried. I've just got to do my job, and this is my first NFL start. And so we get out there, and I'm in the huddle, and this is probably like my 5th or 6th play of the game on offense that I was playing. And we get out there, and Jay calls a play that I have no idea what it means. Like, no idea. I'm like, okay, I know my script. That wasn't on my list. I can't be responsible for this one.
Jay, call something else.
Yeah. So we break the huddle, and like in the huddle, I kind of look at like Matt Forte and like knew that I was confused. And he's like, oh crap, this guy. Like, oh, here we go. I'm about to get in trouble. So we break the huddle, and Jay he does his little neck twitch, right? Yep. And he's like getting ready, and he starts walking. I'm like, Jay, what do I got to do? I have no idea what to do. And he like looks at me, and then he like gives the eye roll and gives a, and then nods his head, and then walks to the line and starts his cadence. Oh. And I look back at Matt Forte.
Save yourself.
Because, I mean, again, in Jay's defense, he's like, all right, this dude's going to be out of here. Like, he doesn't know his stuff. Like, he's not going to be here long. I'm not going to invest any time into this guy. I mean, not what I would do as a leader, but, like, I get it. And so he shakes me off, and I look at Matt, and he goes, and he's kind of panicked now, too, because now he's already calling the play.
Right.
And Matt already knows he's got a screen to the right. And I knew that it was a screen. I was like, where do I go? Because what it was he called the wrong personnel. It was supposed to be 2 tight ends. And I was supposed to be on the backside in the wing position. So I was supposed to be the H-back off of the ball, outside shade of the tackle in a wing position. And I was supposed to be just running some like dummy route, like whatever. But I didn't know what that meant. So Matt just goes, just run bullets. And he literally just goes like this. And like you see him on camera go like this. So, and a bullets, which luckily we had ran on Friday, which is like a swing route. Like you kind of a swing wheel.
So you weren't even in the right position.
No.
So you didn't get off to the wing. You were basically in the
so I was on the wrong side of the formation. So I was set as a strong back.
Right.
So strong I, which is an I formation. It goes quarterback, fullback, tailback in a line, right? So I was set to strong, so I'm lying behind the tackle. I'm in this 2-point, and literally as the snap is going, I'm looking backwards at Matt as he's telling me this. So then it snaps it, and so I just take off running off to the right, avoid the tight end and tackle that were pass setting. And so I avoid them. I do a full 360, like, because I'm just looking around. Like, I got what's going on, you know? I got to know what I do. I do a full 360. Well, I see him throw a screen to Matt. So then I turn around, and then the Mike linebacker is scraping over the top. Well, I get a chip on him, knock him off, so Matt gets to the outside. So he goes underneath, I chip him, and I keep running, and then a safety's coming, and I block the safety, and I actually like pancaked him, and so now I'm running because Matt's now almost caught up to me at this point. So then I think it was a DN or someone was rerouting, was literally like retracing. And I turned around. I literally stopped in my tracks as Matt was passing me. And this DN had this angle, and I blocked him. Like, I think today is like an illegal block because you're blocking back towards the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And so I block him, and then Matt ends up going for an 80-yard touchdown. And so it's funny because I was so lost. I had no idea what I was doing.
But I played at 100%.
Not really, because I'm doing spins. I'm doing pirouettes out on the field. And so, anyways, and after the game, like all the media's like, did you block 3 guys? I can't believe this. And I was like, am I going to be honest and say I was lost, or am I just going to act like I belong here? And I chose to act like I belong here. So just doing what I can do.
That right
just
there.
Selling out for the team.
That right there is exactly why these armchair quarterbacks drive me nuts, because you have no clue what they're actually supposed to be doing out there.
None.
And yet you're making all these evaluations and criticisms.
1,000%.
And they're praising you, and you had zero idea what you're doing out there.
So to that point, right, how complex playbooks are, and people that are in the building with coaches getting extra time, trying to understand it. And then you've got these things like Pro Football Focus. And which, look, as I'm stepping back from the game, it's like whatever. But here's the deal, is you are grading somebody. You have zero idea what that playbook calls for. You have no idea what that A block between the guard and the center looks like, and then the fullback has to react off of that and just clean somebody up. You have no idea what his actual job is. Like, you have no idea if a tight end goes to block the middle linebacker, but the guard came off of a block and got him, and then the tight end has nobody to block, then you give him a downgrade because he didn't block anybody, but you have no idea.
Or quarterback. I mean, most of quarterbacks receive so much criticism. A guy should be running a hot route.
Yes.
Stop. And he doesn't.
And he throws it away.
Yeah. And then they just blame. I mean, it's even when we played the Steelers in the Super Bowl, I have so many people who played, Neil O'Donnell, the starting quarterback of the Steelers, threw 2 interceptions to Larry Brown, and they blame him for everything. And you're like, there's a couple guys that ran the wrong route for one, but O'Donnell just took it on the chin.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff is like, man, he will live the rest of his life as a guy to blame.
Because, I mean, think about like a quarterback. If you know the playbook and you know, okay, hey, because of that safety leverage, because of that corner's leverage, I know that you're supposed to turn it in at 12 yards. Well, what happens when the receiver pushes it to 15 and sits it down? He's anticipating you stopping at 12 and throws it. The corner reacts to it. Right? And so, like, that's not the quarterback's fault because he's putting the ball where it's supposed to be before you make the break.
Right.
So, anyways, point being is it's very, very complicated. Yes. So as we're watching football this season, show some grace.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I think we about handled that question. The point is, like you said, the point is it's a complicated process.
Yeah.
And these dudes it's pretty amazing actually what you guys are able to do and handle and digest.
It wasn't that hard for me.
Yeah, I was telling you.
It's pretty easy. That's why I was like, we got to have this conversation. I'm like, shit, Ty went through
I don't care.
18,000 playbooks.
Yeah. But what I learned, the difference is that what I learned, though, is it doesn't have to be as complicated, right? It really doesn't. Because there's ego and they want to put their name on it. It doesn't have to be as complicated, but understand that a playbook and a good coordinator has an answer to the opposition's every adjustment. So there's just a million scenarios that could happen in a play, and you're supposed to have an answer for everything.
And you said it just right then, man. Like the great ones, the Belichicks, the Parcells, to be on the fly, be able to make adjustments on the sideline to whatever the game plan is. Okay, we're getting this look, we're going to flip it and do this, and then to be able to communicate that with the players on the fly.
Yeah,
that's when you have greatness in as far as a coordinator.
And the last thing on the playbook, let me ask you this: is the greatest coordinators, how much input would they get from the players?
A lot.
See, that's
A ton. I'm telling you, like every time I used to come off the field, Mike Zimmer, hey, what'd you see?
Yeah.
Because we can't see it from here. What did you see? Well, this is what I'm seeing. This is the formation. All right. Then he'd go back and he'd sit there by himself for a little bit, just like separate himself.
Yeah.
And then he'd come back and go, okay, this is what we're going to do. And that to me
But even during the week, right, as you're game planning, because that's the other thing to acknowledge we didn't, is every week is a new playbook.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could put an entire offseason and training camp together with your playbook, and new plays get dropped every day during the week. So you've got to learn all new plays every single week. But in the plays, how much would they ask for your input on, like, hey, is this something you're comfortable with? Yeah. Or, hey, do you like this? Or do you?
Hey, is this shit going to work?
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's saying. Yeah. And I was either going to give him a yay or no, man, this is bullshit, dude. They're going to kill us on this play. But what we used to always go off of was, offenses, they change and they tweak here and there. And normally, they're not going to change. When you really want to know on offense, you get to learn offense, go in a 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to stay far from who they really are.
That's right.
Because they ain't got time to move, to change things, right? But we used to always study tendencies, big time on tendencies. Like, how far off are you inside the numbers as a wide receiver? What's this formation look like? What do they like to run out of this formation? If it's, 2 backs, 1 back, whatnot. And that's how we would so we would implement a play or two, but it was mostly the studying was, okay, this is what you guys like to do in these certain formations. And that was the mental part where you had to carry that to the next week. It's crazy. Well, I know we got to go, man.
We already went longer than what we said. But before we run, I know you're too humble to say this, D, but tomorrow, the 21st, the Dallas Cowboys are putting out a documentary. Is that what you'd call it? A documentary on you?
I don't know. It's not a documentary.
How long is it going to be?
I have no idea how long.
You don't know anything about it?
Probably 30 minutes, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a kind of behind the scenes about your career, where you come from, your time with the Cowboys. Looks the little 1-minute trailer they put out on their Instagram looks pretty sweet.
It's a big deal, guys. Yeah. This is really freaking cool.
He didn't even tell us. I had to find out.
I had no idea when they were releasing it.
Yeah.
You guys are actually in the office when they're doing.
You're either very humble or you're clueless.
Yeah,
One of the two.
A little bit of both.
Thanks for asking us to come in and talk good about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
We could have done like NFL Top 100 style. Me and Ben are just in there.
I'm assuming you gave me most of the credit.
Oh,
of your
all the
success.
credit
Yeah.
for everything, bro.
So that's tomorrow. That airs
Yeah.
tomorrow on the Cowboys YouTube channel. I think here locally here in Dallas, it's like CBS and those channels. But
Or if you want to hear the whole story, go back to episode 1
there you go.
and start there.
There you go.
That's a company man right there.
That's right.
Corporate man. Well done. So you guys have a great weekend. Make sure you check out Darren's, we'll call it a docu-series. See you guys.